Hey Stubby Nails Club, welcome to the video where we talk about the 3 most common errors we see in new pelvic health PTs when they first start practicing that really reveal their lack of confidence. So if you guys are noticing that your clients are dropping off after one session, that initial session, or one or two, keep watching this video and see if you do any of these things that show that you're really lacking in confidence. Number 1. You are way too afraid to admit that you don't know. Getting really comfortable with saying, I don't know, is a practiced skill, and you can't know it all. There are just too many special cases, strange concerns, gray areas, things that are just not textbook that you'll notice very quickly once you start practicing. Certainly when we see a disc injury, for example, it is not as clear-cut as the textbook tells us. Same thing with pelvic health concerns and conditions. They may be overlapped with another concern. They may be confused about the findings because they don't keep track of their bladder, bowel, sexual health habits or diaries. So for so many different reasons, your assessment and collection of their subjective interview can be really skewed and can really confuse you. So saying something like, I don't know what the diagnosis is, but here's what I understand of your concern, and here's what I think would help, goes a long way, just to show that A, you're concerned with them reaching their goals and what their primary concerns are, but also they get an understanding that you've been active listening and really paying attention to their objective findings this whole time, and you're going to treat from whatever dysfunctions that you've found. That can go a long way, even if you can't give a clear diagnosis, even if they ask you something and you're just completely taken aback, you don't know the answer. 9 times out of 10, dare I say 10 times out of 10, the client will appreciate that you said, I don't know. That's a really great question. I'm going to go research that and come back to you next week and follow through with that. They will be so appreciative of you for doing so. Number 2. Stumbling, mumbling, getting confused in your own explanations of things. Now, albeit, now that I've had about 8 to 9 years of practice, time does really help, and getting the reps in does really help when it comes to explanations of commonly asked questions. But what I would suggest here is perhaps taking a trip to Google or ChatGPT and typing in the 5 most commonly asked questions to a pelvic health physiotherapist from a patient and practice giving clear, concise explanations of their concerns. I promise you, you will get better with the reps and also making sure that you at least hit main points. So it's not necessarily a memorization game of let me memorize the top 10 asked questions of people with endometriosis, but it's really getting familiar with the key points in each concern or of each of the commonly asked questions and paraphrasing and making sure that you're phrasing in some of the client's exact symptoms, exact scenario into the answer and explanation of their questions. That can be really helpful. So inserting their specific environment context into the answer of your questions can also help build therapeutic rapport and ensure that they know that you've been listening, but also just getting the reps in of answering. You will realize that after a few years of practice, many of the same questions come up and they come up and they come up. So maybe for that first time that you get that question about the Epino device or the PeriFit, what are your thoughts on dilators versus wands? You may not have a great answer initially. You can always say, going back to point number 1, I don't know. Let me come back to you. Both of those help with A, B, C, but let me come back with a clear answer next week. your clients will be more appreciative of that than giving a half glossed over answer where you're stumbling through it. They will appreciate a much more coherent and thought through answer. So, yeah, think through your answers, practice, 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 and you will get better through doing more reps. So keep seeing your pelvic health clients and keep practicing, keep explaining. Number 3, you find yourself changing the treatment plan every session or so, and you keep going back and forth and back and forth. Although it may be really unclear what the diagnosis is, try to at least stay on path with your treatment plan and see the course of action go through. Of course, if a treatment plan is making the client feel worse or uncomfortable, or the client's really just not into the exercises or prescription that you've given them, then of course change course, but at least have a clear set of ideas in the roadmap and path in the roadmap that makes sense for you so that the client can understand where you're coming from and move along. If you're cluttered in your thinking, the client's going to know. If you don't write down the clear roadmap in your assessment or treatment plan in the parts section of your SOAP notes, it's going to be very unclear for the client where they are in the treatment plan, what they're doing next, should they even come back to the next session if you're not even sure where they're at, what they've done. So document well for this point. You really want to make sure you know where the patient is. If they've understood the exercises, are they compliant? Are they doing the reps? Have they been doing it wrong? Are you watching them do it? Do they need to progress? And making sure you paint out that clear roadmap that we've mentioned in some of the other videos. If you flip-flop on your own treatment plan so many different times, it shows a lack of confidence, and it shows that maybe you need to go back to the drawing board on the assessment if you're really unsure what seems to be helping or not. Don't forget to go back often to your findings and always take new reassessment data pretty much at every single session. So don't be afraid to reassess. It does not show that you are wasting time in the session. In fact, it shows that you want to know the current understanding of what's happening. You might be surprised, like clients are not just coming in looking for 30 minutes of the dot of treatment. They want to make sure that the treatment that they're getting is relevant for their current concerns. So do not be afraid to do that quick reassessment to make sure that you're on the right track within the treatment session, but also in the exercise prescription of that week or 2 weeks. Okay.
Number 1, overly relying on protocol. As a new grad who just got out of school, sometimes if you're so focused on doing things exactly the way you're taught, you might fail to listen to your client's concerns. For example, when conducting the subjective assessment, if you are following the assessment form exactly the way it is, you might lose the flow in the conversation with the client because all you're thinking about is, I need to write down all that information, or I need to fill out everything in that exact order. But no, it shouldn't be done this way. Instead, be familiar with the questions that you want to ask and go with your client's flow. Listen to what they are saying and then ask pertinent follow-up questions to help you make your diagnosis and help you understand their expectations and their goals. Be flexible. You're going to see that you can still get through all the questionnaires in the assessment form, but it's going to be so much more pleasant for you and for the client, and your client is going to feel much more listened to. Number 2, appearing disorganized and unfamiliar with your treatment. Well, this can come in different forms, but let's say a client is in your treatment room today and you decided that you wanted to do the biofeedback with her. As you're setting up the machine, you suddenly realize that you can't find the vaginal probe and you're not sure where to plug this line. And oh my god, where is the software? How do I open up that software on the laptop? And after all of that, you finally set up the machine and it took you 15 minutes while it should have taken less than 5. So you've just wasted your client's time and you look like you didn't know what you were doing. So imagine how that client is not gonna feel so well about this treatment and is gonna lose confidence in you and in the treatment. So before doing anything with your client, make sure you're familiar with it. If you've never done this type of treatment before, or if you've done it but you're not so sure about it, well, practice. Practice with your colleagues, practice with your family, or even just practice setting up the machine while your client is not here. Also, remember that always before your day starts, check to make sure that all the equipment you need is in the room so that you're not going to waste time to go find it during the client's treatment session. So yeah, don't look disorganized. You want to go into the room looking confident so that the client can also have confidence in you. Number 3, you're being too nice. Well, being nice is a quality in general, but if it's in a scenario where your patient didn't do the homework you gave them and you just let that go because you're so afraid of losing them, then that's not such a good thing. It just means that you're not firm in your treatment plan and that you're not confident enough to point out the problem that might affect the treatment outcome. For example, you gave your client an exercise program and you're expecting them to do once a day. On the next appointment, he came back, he told you that he did the exercises twice in total, and that's it. Well, in return, don't just say that, okay, I'm happy that you did them, even though it's not exactly the frequency you asked him to do. Instead, you want to dig deeper. You want to see why he only did it twice. Is it because some of the exercises are too hard? Was it like giving him pain or discomfort? Or maybe he is really busy, it doesn't work with his schedule. What's going on? So you want to find a solution. You want to help him and motivate him to do exactly what you need him to do. Also, remember to link the exercise back to his goals. Is he going to see changes if he only does it twice? Are you going to see changes in the treatment if he only does it twice? So, explain to your client why it is important for them to commit to the treatment frequency if they want to see results, and also be assertive to tell them when they're not following the plan and guide them when they go off track.
Okay. We hope you found this helpful. Make sure that you check out our bonus content in the Patreon of how to get better retention for your clients, and make sure your clients are coming back for the duration of the entire treatment plan and not just for a one-off appointment. If you guys like this content, please give us a like down below and hit the red subscribe button if you're looking for more content like this for new pelvic health physiotherapists. Have a great day.